A regular meeting of the City Council was held in person on Thursday, February 12th, 2026 at 7 p.m. for the purpose of transacting any and all business. Notice of this meeting was posted on February 10th, 2026 at 1:38 p.m. This meeting is being recorded and is live on SATV and Zoom unless technological issues interrupt the transition. Councilors absent, Councilor Varela. Council President Merkel presiding. Councilor King moved to dispense with the reading of the record of the previous meeting. All those in favor? So voted. Now I request that everyone please rise, if able, to recite the Pledge of Allegiance led by Councilor Hapworth.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The Salem City Council honors that this land is Namkeg, or fishing place, where generation of Namkeg people from the Pawtucket Band of the Massachusetts tribe lived and passed through for centuries. We acknowledge that this is unceded indigenous land and also acknowledge the Massachusetts tribe who continue to honor and hold this land into the present. Salem City Council is committed to having ongoing, meaningful dialogue with the indigenous peoples who have presence in Salem in order to dismantle the legacies of oppression and inequities that persist today. Public testimony. Public testimony is not to exceed 15 minutes. Public testimony is not a public hearing or question and answer period. Sign-up must occur 30 minutes prior to the meeting. The president shall, depending on the number of speakers, set a time limit not to exceed 3 minutes, which each individual presenting testimony must abide. Tonight, we have 9 people speaking, and each will receive 1 minute and 40 seconds to talk. First, we have Ben Shallop. If you like, please state your name and address for the record.
Ben Shallop, 26 Upham Street here in Salem. In addition to writing snarky emails about snow removal here in Salem to city councilors, some of you might know that I also wrote a book creatively titled The Founding of Salem, City of Peace, and shameless plug, you can get it right down at Wicked Good Books. The book is about what we're celebrating here on the 400th anniversary. It's about how Salem came to be, it's about how Salem was founded, and it's about the establishment here in Salem. And in the process, or shortly after writing that book, I did get to meet a lot of the folks over in East Budleigh, UK, and began to a bit of a relationship with them, which began on Zoom. And I have to say, it has been one of the most wholesome, welcoming, wonderful experiences I've had. It's brought a lot of joy over the past few years. And I also wanted to say that especially during this time when relationships with Europe and with the UK and with Canada have become strained, I think it's more important than ever that we reach back to establish friendships at the local level with people, with the people of East Budleigh and the people of other places. East Budleigh is particularly relevant to us here in Salem because that's where Roger Conant was from. That's where our story began. And I thank you all for considering this resolution to establish or to twin us with East Budleigh, UK, as they would say over there. And I look forward to continuing to develop a lasting relationship with our friends across the pond. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Steve Kapantis. If you like, please state your name and address for the record.
Steve Kapantis, 23 Wisteria Street, Salem, Mass. Just want to talk briefly about snow removal. I'm glad that it's being discussed at the city council. However, I'm not sure if just raising the fine is the solution. I think the city council needs to collect some data, see how many tickets were issued in years past. This is about enforcement. It's really not about how much you're going to enforce. And then also, I think you need to recognize those that do a good job. Because Canal Street, one of the main thoroughways used to be horrible, but now there's some people on Canal Street doing a fantastic job. Bagel World now clears all their sidewalks, their walkways. McDonald's is one of the ones that's horrendous. Starbucks clears theirs, Dunkin' Donuts, Domino's does a fantastic job. So I think just raising the fines doesn't get the job done. You need to look at the problem a little closer and come up with a solution that increases enforcement. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Jeff Cohen on Zoom.
Jeff Cohen, 12 Hancock Street, Salem. I'm speaking in support of two agenda items. First, the resolution in support of our residents and workers, friends and neighbors who are potentially intimidated or worse by the federal law enforcement. And it's a great message. In my view, if more action is not taken, it's just a message. I suggest that the mayor considers an executive order, as the mayors of Lynn, Gloucester, Chelsea, and other communities have, to state our jurisdiction over our public property. And maybe more important, hopefully the council at some point will consider bringing back some of the language that was taken out of the original ordinance that was submitted in 2017 that would provide more protections for our immigrant friends. I also want to speak in support of Councilor Varela's composting initiative and ordinance. We have a mandatory recycling ordinance, and hopefully someday we'll have a mandatory composting ordinance. As great as recycling is, it's very imperfect, it's very confusing, and it's not as financially impactful or as good for our environment as composting. When food degrades, it becomes methane, which is 40 times worse than carbon dioxide. There's some misconceptions about how it would impact negatively on businesses, and it's just another bin and a transference of a cost that they already have to pay to dispose of their trash, and it's something that is the next step. We have pilot programs in all the schools, some of the Salem housing complexes, and it's really time not only for our businesses, for our community at large to compost and really do right by our environment. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Josiah Guthrie. And I apologize if I got your name wrong.
That's okay. Hello, thank you so much for the opportunity to speak to this body today. My name is Josiah Guthrie, resident at 69 Essex Street. Would you please take one of these and pass it down? And you as well. Thank you. I'm here today to speak about public transit. Salem's transportation network is fractured, dangerous, and unsustainable. For far too long, the city of Salem has measured this network based on U.S. standards of merit. Yet here in the richest country in the history of the world, the United States remains scarred by the post-war destruction of affordable housing and non-car modes of transit, such as the streetcars, which served as the premier mode of transit for most U.S. cities prior to the Great Scourge of the 1950s. While other countries recognized the wounds of car-centric development and sought to heal them over the past 50 years, the United States embarrassingly fails to provide effective transit options. Salem is no exception. While our city officials have recognized the problems, dangerous and congested roads, inaccessible destinations, over-reliance on expensive private vehicles, poor land use, and more, and indeed sought to address them, the efforts to provide solutions have been lackluster. We must accept that U.S. standards fail to provide a role model for transportation networks and look to countries and cities across the world which have proven to deliver safety and convenience at a lower cost. We should seek to emulate the world-class success of countries like the Netherlands, which feature transportation networks with well-studied, proven standards and guidelines to achieve their great success. Salem must only accept the best. Here in our city, we have the political will to lose our pieces of paper and create a city which has the transportation network which could be the envy of the entire country. One of the things that I talked about in my lost piece of paper is please take this seriously and treat this as an urgent matter. I think we are cementing things in place that will last for 30 years, and the problems, thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Madison Jacob.
Madison Jacob, 325 Jefferson Ave. When we face a snow emergency, we deploy snow plows, salt trucks, modify parking, turn on flashing lights. We don't just react, we act proactively to protect our community. We don't wait for harm to come and seek damages in court. When we're dealing with an entity that doesn't respect our rules and laws, such as the ICE agency, we cannot afford to only react. We must be proactive. The city government is elected to represent the interest of Salem residents, and by residents, I make no implication of citizenship nor of immigration status. Anyone who chooses to live in Salem in harmony with the rest of us belongs here, and I welcome them as a neighbor. It will not be enough to leave the protection of our community to our community organizations. It will not be enough to have unofficial support from members of the city government or other public officers. I call on the city council to make official legal stance of the city to be against the illegal actions of ICE, limiting or removing their jurisdiction, removing duty to comply with instructions from agents, from our public officers or residents, and having an official response that the arrival of ICE agents in any of our neighborhoods constitutes an emergency that warrants the mobilization of public resources such as police. We have a duty to our community to proactively resist that which would harm us. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Bruce Cohen.
Good evening. My name is Bruce Cohen. I'm a member of the city's recycling committee, and I'm speaking about in support of the composting ordinance proposed by Councilor Varela, and I wanted to note I'm speaking on my behalf, not on behalf of the committee. So food waste has a tremendous environmental impact, and Salem should be taking measures as a city to reduce it. And today, food waste makes up about 22% of Salem's solid waste. And as you may know, the city's waste is currently incinerated at a facility in Saugus. Here's a quick snapshot of the environmental impact of incinerated waste. 60 tons annually of nitrous oxide, sulfur dioxide, and hydrogen chloride. These are pollutants that all contribute to ozone, which is a major greenhouse gas. 15 tons of dioxins, which are among the most toxic chemicals known. The dioxins are carcinogenic, they impair the immune system, and they're known to cause birth defects. And 8 tons of lead, mercury, and cadmium. These toxins accumulate in the body and they cause neurological defects and kidney damage. I believe it's good policy for Salem to push the city's restaurants to address food waste, and the composting ordinance is a reasonable, common sense approach to achieve that. In addition, the ban could provide some financial benefits to restaurant owners, as the composting fees paid by restaurants would likely be lower than the fees that tipping fees they're already paying to trash haulers to haul food waste. Lastly, the ban could incentivize restaurants to donate food that otherwise would be discarded to food rescue organizations. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Next, we have Karen Scalia.
Good. Good evening, everybody. Karen Scalia, 29 RR Upham Street in North Salem. Thank you for letting me speak tonight. I'm speaking in support of the resolution for the sister city. They call it twinning in the UK and in Europe with East Budleigh. Last spring, I had the pleasure of visiting East Budleigh as I prepared for our 400th and the plans that my small business has in Salem. And it was life-changing and really very special. There is a plaque in the center of town that talks about Roger Conant, our founder. Ben did a lovely job with a good recap. I will add to his words, Roger Conant is remembered for his attitude of tolerance and conciliation among the early settlers of New England. I felt that same spirit when I visited there, and it was such an honor to represent Salem in that way. And I look forward to the vote, and thank you so much for your support of this. Happy 400.
Thank you. Next, we have Jordan Elevons. Thank you.
So thank you for the time. I'd like to first start by speaking in support of the resolution to ensure the safety of our immigrant community. I think that's a great first step. And I'd also like to acknowledge the difficult position that the council and the police department are in, trying to balance not being a target, but also trying to do something. So in the meantime, I'd like to push us to use the time we have where we're not being actively targeted to prepare for that possible eventuality. The first thing I'd like to propose is creating a resolution with other towns to create an agenda block to potentially push the state towards more aggressive measures and to deny ICE operations in the area by preventing like any sort of housing or anything like that. I'd like to see maybe if we can facilitate a communication system between citizens so that they can warn each other. And one of the things that we've seen in Minneapolis is that citizens who are tracking ICE vehicles are being targeted by ICE, even if they're citizens or what have you. Some way of perhaps either using the police department or autonomously monitoring that and spreading that information might be helpful in ensuring like community safety from both sides. And then finally, Minnesota has shown that local police pushing back has been effective in stopping kidnappings and getting people who have been captured freed. So that's another thing that I think we should discuss. They're clearly gearing up for a wider attack. They are buying warehouses across the country that can hold 80,000 people each. They're trying to create this larger system. And, you know, first they're coming for the immigrants. Next, it could be LGBTQ, and next it could be somebody else. So clearly we need to get ready for this. And I would say that what should guide our actions is establishing a simple objective, which is to keep people safe and to limit the federal control or ability to exercise in our, yes, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And next we have Robbie Taylor.
Hello, everyone. My name is Robbie. I'm a former teacher, a current leader at an international education nonprofit, and a Salem resident concerned about public safety because of ICE. Around 2 weeks ago, there was a post online that ICE was in the Commons. It was a day that many of us have been waiting in fear of for, at this point, a decade. The post was mistaken. However, there will be a day when it is true. This is a certainty. I go for runs through Salem Commons and was planning to that day. I didn't, because I felt that if ICE were there, it would be the most likely place that I would die. I believe the encroachment of forces acting without the basic respect, values, goodness, and neighborliness of our democracy, our laws, and for many, myself included, our faiths, is the greatest threat to public safety I have witnessed in my lifetime. I hope, pray, and demand that you will treat it as such. How will we, because we have to, in order for the things that make Salem wonderful to survive, upskill our community members? I mentioned I work in education, where I focus on reforming systems at scale to teach students competencies like critical thinking, resilience, courage, and ethics, or to be as fluent in media and AI as they are literacy and numeracy. These are things that don't just happen. They need training and measurement, they need simulations with intentional feedback, they need drills, deliberate practice, and systematic strategy. We need these for our city, and for our students, and for our adults, because I know I personally was never taught them, and I doubt anyone in this room was. How will we help everyone get them? A day will come soon, and I thought it came 2 weeks ago, where we, the politicians, the police, and the people, will be reacting, making decisions in minutes that were worthy of months of thought. Sometimes we'll be on the same side of the table, and sometimes we'll be across it. Let us please sit at that table and do that thinking, that preparing, that community building, and that legislating now, rather than when it is too late. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes our public testimony, and thank you to all of you. Appreciate it. Hearings, none. Appointments and reappointments.
We have held from the last meeting the mayor's appointment of the following with their terms to expire.
Councilor Tarosky.
Thank you, President Merkel. This is to finalize the appointment of Emmylou Manuel to the Transportation Commission and Karen Bixby to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund. These are to replace the seats that Councilor Sidoriak and I vacated in order to serve on City Council. And
motion?
I move for confirmation by roll call vote.
Councilor Tarosky moves for these appointments to be confirmed by roll call vote. Under discussion?
Thank you, President Merkel. Yes, so Emmylou is being appointed to the Transportation Commission. Let me just pull up my notes here, please. so sorry, my computer's skipped. Emmy Lou is a current member of the Bicycling and Shared Path Advisory Committee, and she is coming back for more. So thank you very much for being willing to serve on another board, a commission with the city. Emmy Lou is an immigration attorney and has a strong history of service to her community. I still can't find this letter. And she's involved in many legal groups that advocate for immigrants around the area. Sorry. Excuse me, bear with me, please. Here we go. You'll need a control F on this thing. In addition to her professional experience, Ms. Manuel serves as a council member on the Student Services Committee of the Boston University Law Young Alumni Council. She is a congressional liaison for the American Immigration Lawyers Association of New England, and she is a member of the American Immigration Lawyers Association. And thank you very much for your willingness to serve. Ms. Karen Bixby is being appointed to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund Board to replace Councilor Sidoriak's vacated seat. Ms. Bixby currently serves as a registered nurse case manager with Element Care. She works extensively with the city's elderly population. She holds a Master of Science in Psychiatric Mental Health Nursing and has an extensive clinical and leadership background spanning inpatient, outpatient, and community-based settings. In addition to her clinical expertise, Ms. Bixby brings valuable insight into the housing-related challenges faced by Salem's older adults, including affordability, accessibility, and the need for supportive services. Her commitment to public service and interest in learning more about the city's housing processes will be a meaningful asset to the Trust Fund Board. And I thank you both for volunteering to serve.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councilor Flynn.
Thank you, President. I just wanted to say these are two great appointments. Specifically on Emmy Lou, she's a Ward 4 resident, so I'd like to recognize her. She's a wonderful person, and she's very involved with the community, and I think she's going to do a wonderful job on the Transportation Commission. So I just wanted to say that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Okay, seeing none. On Councilor Trotsky's motion to confirm the appointments of Emmy Lou Manuel to the Transportation Commission and Karen Bixby to the Affordable Housing Trust Fund Board, Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Davis?
Yes.
Councilor Flynn?
Yes.
Councilor Hapworth?
Yes.
Councilor Halapa?
Yes.
Councilor King?
Yes.
Councilor Prosnewski?
Yes.
Councilor Smith?
Yes.
Councilor Sidoriak?
Yes.
Councilor Torowski?
Yes.
And Councilor Merkel.
Yes. We have 10 councilors voting, 10 in the affirmative, and none in the negative. The matter carries. Councilor Torowski.
Thank you, President Merkel. I move for a suspension of the rules to allow our new appointees to speak.
Seeing no objection, would Emmy Lou Manuel like to come to the podium?
She's on.
Oh, she's on Zoom. Okay.
Hold on. Hold on. There you go.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Councilor Torowski and Councilor Flynn, for your kind words. And thank you to the mayor and the city council for this appointment. I have very big shoes to fill, filling Councilor Torowski's role on the Transportation Commission. And I'm excited to engage with the other members and think through how we can make the city easier to move through, both or as pedestrians, cyclists, and people that drive cars. And I do all three in the city regularly, so I'm very excited to share perspective of somebody who lives a little bit outside the downtown core and how that experience affects transportation. As a separate matter, I just wanted to draw attention that my name was misspelled on the agenda. And last time when I was appointed to the Bicycling and Shared Path Committee, my name was misspelled and the city clerk's office had to fix it on my official appointment letter. So I was just hoping that could get fixed before the appointment letter goes out or is sent to me. And And I also want to share I have an unusual name, and so I think that's pretty common, but I think there's a lot of people from other racial and ethnic backgrounds that would see this kind of as a microaggression. So I would just ask that we be really careful with people's names and try to do that a little bit better. Thank you.
Thank you. And Karen Bixby?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Karen Bixby. I have been a resident of Salem since 2018. I want to thank the council for the appointment, and I'm looking forward to serving the community.
Thank you.
Further appointments and reappointments. We have a request to ask everyone to silence your phones and electronic devices in the chamber. Thank you. Further appointments and reappointments.
We have held from the last meeting the mayor's reappointments of the following with their terms to expire.
Councilor Turovsky.
Thank you, President Merkel. I move for confirmation by roll call vote.
Councilor Turovsky moves for confirmation for reappointments by roll call vote. Under discussion, Councilor Turovsky.
Thank you, President Merkel. This is to reappoint Margarita Rocca Goncalves to the Historical Commission and to reappoint Mr. Gary Barrett to the Licensing Board. Ms. Rocca Goncalves' term for 2 years to expire in 2028, and Mr. Barrett's term to expire in 6 years in 2032.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, on Councilor Turovsky's motion to confirm the reappointment of Margarita Rocca Goncalves to the Historical Commission and Gary Barrett to the Licensing Board. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Davis?
Yes.
Councilor Flynn?
Yes.
Councilor Hapworth?
Yes.
Councilor Halapa?
Yes.
Councilor King?
Yes.
Councilor Prosnewski?
Yes.
Councilor Smith?
Yes.
Councilor Sidoriak?
Yes.
Councilor Turovsky?
Yes.
And Councilor Merkel.
Yes. We have 10 members voting. We have 10 in the affirmative, none in the negative. The matter carries. Further appointments and reappointments.
With the mayor's appointments of the following with their terms to expire.
Councilor Turovsky.
Thank you, President Merkel. I move that these be held under the rules.
Councilor Turovsky moves that these be held under the rules. All those in favor? All those opposed? The matter carries. Further appointments and reappointments.
We have the mayor's reappointments of the following with their terms to expire.
Councilor Turovsky.
Thank you, President Merkel. I move that these be held under the rules.
Councilor Turovsky moves that these be held under the rules. All those in favor? All those opposed? The matter carries. Communications from the mayor.
We've been ordered that the sum of $235,109.24 is hereby appropriated from the following account, Transportation Enhancement Fund account, and transferred to the FTA Salem Skipper Expansion account to cover the costs associated with the Salem Skipper service.
Councilor Davis.
Thank you, President Merkel. I move for suspension of the rules.
Councilor Davis moves for suspension of the rules. Seeing no objection. Councilor Davis.
Thank you, President Merkel. I move for adoption.
Councilor Davis moves for adoption. Under discussion, Councilor Davis.
Thank you. So this is, as was said, for the continuation of the Salem Skipper Regional Expansion Pilot Service. I thought it was interesting to note, since launching in 2020, the Skipper service has delivered over 550,000 rides. And as folks probably know, in 2024, thanks to an allocation of federal funding, we were able to expand the service to include parts of Danvers and Beverly.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councilor Halapa.
Thank you, President Merkel. I just wanted to thank the mayor for this order. The Salem Skipper is an excellent service to provide folks that do not have the ability to drive around the city themselves with a fairly low-cost alternative, which is especially relevant during times of snow, like it is right now. So thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, on Councilor Davis's motion to approve the $235,109.24 appropriation to the FTA Skipper expansion account. All those in favor? All those opposed? The matter carries. Further communications from the mayor.
We've been ordered that the sum of $43,245.14 is hereby appropriated from the fund balance for free cash account to the accounts listed below to fund the supplemental costs associated with the fiscal year for the special election on May 5th, 2026. They include expenses for voting machine services, printing and binding, police department, and postage.
Councilor Davis.
Thank you, President Merkel. I move for suspension of the rules.
Councilor Davis moves for suspension of the rules. Seeing no objection. Councilor Davis.
Thank you, President Merkel. I move for adoption.
Councilor Davis moves for adoption. Under discussion, Councilor Davis.
Thank you. So as was said, pretty clear cut, as everyone can see in front of them, the breakdown here goes to voting machines, printing and binding, overtime for the police department, postage to the building department. We had a appropriation at a previous meeting for some of the costs of this, but there are some additional costs here that we're approving as well.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councilor Doriak.
Thank you, President Merkel. So I'm just curious, when we are going to voters and the residents and telling them this is what costs to do a special election, would this be the sum of it? Where did these additional costs come from? An evaluation of the what needs to be done. I think this is really important, especially for other discussions in regards to ranked choice voting, when we are trying to determine this is what an election looks like right now. Under these circumstances, they'd be very different. So I'm just wondering, how did this evaluation happen? And when we're putting forward something to the voters saying this is what it entails, is that where the buck stops, or do we have to continuously discuss what goes into running an election?
Councilor Davis.
Thank you, President Merkel. So there is some helpful information in the backup, which I would definitely direct folks there too. But yeah, when original funding was made for elections in the previous year, the special election was not known. And as the breakdown has here, these are to now fund aspects of carrying out the special election that are now known. And the backup does go through each bullet point that's put on the agenda in pretty comprehensive detail. So I would direct folks there.
Any further discussion? Okay, seeing none, on Councilor Davis's motion to adopt the appropriation of $43,245.14 from free cash to cover the costs associated with the May 5th, 2026 special election. All those in favor? Excuse me. All those in favor? All those opposed? The matter carries. Further communications from the mayor.
We have an order that the sum of $30,864.60 be approved within the Retirement Stabilization Fund Vacation Sick Leave Buyback account to be expended for the contractual buyback for a Salem Public School employee.
Councilor Davis.
Thank you, President Merkel. I move for suspension of the rules.
Councilor Davis moves for suspension of the rules. Seeing no objection, Councilor Davis.
Thank you, President Merkel. I move for adoption.
Councilor Davis moves for adoption. Under discussion, Councilor Davis.
Thank you. So this is a contractual obligation to fund the retirement buyback for a Salem Public School Department employee, Torin Melu, and I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, and we wish them happy retirement.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, on Counselor Davis's motion to approve the retirement, vacation, sick leave buyback, all those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further communications from the mayor.
We have an order that the sum of $6,773.43 be approved within the Retirement Stabilization Fund Vacation Sick Leave Buyback account for the buyback of an employee from the legal department.
Counselor Davis.
Thank you, President Merkel. I move for suspension of the rules.
Counselor Davis moves for suspension of the rules. Seeing no objection, Counselor Davis.
Thank you, President Merkel. I move for adoption.
Counselor Davis moves for adoption. Under discussion, Counselor Davis.
Thank you. So this is the same thing, contractual obligations, this time for our legal department employee, Elizabeth Bernard. Wishing her a great retirement as well. And, just a note on that, for my sake, always really appreciated my time with Beth, her ability to have such a comprehensive knowledge of the legal status, whether it's state, federal, local laws, and be able to work so collaboratively to make sure we're doing the things legally that we're trying to do, and she will definitely be missed.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Counselor Hapworth.
Thank you, President Merkel. I just want to note the historic nature of this being maybe the first time the Salem City Council has done something for Beth Renard, because Beth Renard has spent an entire career doing stuff for various city councilors. So just appreciate everything she's done for us.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Counselor Flynn?
Thank you, President Merkel. I just want to echo what everyone said. Beth has given so much to the city of Salem, so many years. I've had the opportunity to work with her as a union rep at the fire department and as a city councilor, and she has always been there for us. She has always got the answers, always got back to me personally whenever I needed anything. And the city, I really feel bad that it's a loss losing Beth, but I understand she's earned this. I want her to have a long, happy, healthy retirement, and thank you, Beth, for all you've done.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Counselor Prosnewski.
Thank you. I also would like to echo the words of Councilor Flynn. Beth Renard has always been there at our beck and call and always gotten back to us in a very timely manner and made our lives a lot easier, both when I was on the police department and now on the city council. She is absolutely the epitome of professionalism, and I wish her and her beautiful family a long, happy, and healthy retirement.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, on Counselor Davis's motion to approve the retirement sick leave vacation buyback, all those in favor? All those opposed? The matter carries. Further communications from the mayor.
We have an order per Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 64, which allows for municipalities to pay for prior fiscal year invoices with current fiscal year appropriations, in the appropriation in the amount of $4,873 for the IT department to pay a vendor of extra duty solutions.
Counselor Davis.
Thank you, President Merkel. I move for suspension of the rules.
Counselor Davis moves for suspension of the rules. Seeing no objection, Counselor Davis.
Thank you. I move for adoption by roll call vote.
Counselor Davis moves that the prior fiscal year invoice from Extra Duty Solutions be paid from this year's IT department budget. Under discussion.
Thank you, President Merkel. So this order is necessary to pay for invoices from Extra Duty Solutions for police details during the City of Salem Phase 2 fiber installations. The IT department would like to pay these fiscal year 2025 invoices using fiscal year 2026 funds, which is why we do need a 2/3 vote for the funds to be paid, not in the year that we're paying them.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, on Counselor Davis's motion to approve the Extra Duty Solutions invoice for $4,873 to be paid from this fiscal year's IT department budget. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Counselor Davis?
Yes.
Counselor Flynn?
Yes.
Counselor Hapworth?
Yes.
Counselor Halapa?
Yes.
Counselor King?
Yes.
Counselor Prosnewski?
Yes.
Counselor Smith?
Yes.
Counselor Sidoriak?
Yes.
Counselor Turowski?
Yes.
And Counselor Merkel.
Yes. Thank you. We have 10 members voting. We have 10 in the affirmative, none in the negative. The matter carries. Further communications from the mayor.
We have a resolution designating East Budleigh, England as a sister city.
Councilor Hepworth.
Thank you, President Merkel. Whereas Roger Conant was born in the village of East Budleigh, Devon, England in 1592, and whereas in 1626 Roger Conant founded the English settlement that would become the city of Salem, establishing one of the oldest and most historic communities in the United States, and whereas Roger Conant's leadership and vision helped establish a stable and enduring community that became the cornerstone of Massachusetts Bay Colony and American history, and whereas the city of Salem honors Roger Conant's legacy with a prominent statue that has stood in the heart of the city since 1913 as a tribute to its founder, and whereas the city's name is derived from an ancient word for peace, and whereas both Salem and East Budleigh share a deep appreciation for history and the transatlantic bonds that unite our communities, and whereas a sister city relationship between East Budleigh and Salem will strengthen the friendship between two communities united by a shared history, now therefore be it resolved that the people of Salem do extend a hand of friendship across the Atlantic Ocean to the people of East Budleigh, Devon, England, and that the city of Salem does hereby designate the village of East Budleigh, Devon, England to be the sister city, and the city of Salem shall endeavor to establish and formalize ways to demonstrate the unique special relationship, including possible cultural exchanges, historical research collaboration, educational programs, heritage tourism, and more. And the resolution honors the legacy of Roger Conant and celebrates the enduring connections between the community of his birth and the community of his founding. I move for adoption by roll call vote.
Councilor Hepworth moves for adoption by roll call vote. Under discussion, Councilor Hepworth.
Thank you, President Merkel. Just first to start out and just acknowledge the work that went on behind the scenes, starting with Karen Scalia I believe it was last spring, and the work that Ben Shallop did there as well. To recognize this relationship, East Budleigh is not a city like Salem. East Budleigh is, I think, 750-ish people, a much, much smaller community than Salem, and Roger Conant is an important figure there, possibly a more important figure to them than he is to us here, oddly. So I think that connection is important. If you've seen our connection with the city like Oda in Japan and what that has brought to students in Salem and Oda, I think we need these kind of things now more than ever. And I think it's important to recognize Roger Conant. I think we have a tendency to flatten people in history and to imagine Roger Conant as a statue that sits in the middle of Brown Street. And I think he was chosen for his, I think there's actually some errors in the backup documentation about how he got here, but he was chosen for his calm temperament and his leadership abilities. And he really handed this settlement over to John Endicott, who was very much not those things. And if you can just look at his portrait to understand that he was a much more aggressive and fierce man. And if you could imagine if those roles had been reversed, if Endicott had been here first and Conant had tried to take it over, this would not be called the City of Peace, and we would not be called Salem probably. So I think the role Roger Conant played was very important here in the city. I'm glad that we're recognizing it here.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councilor Jalapa.
Thank you, President Merkel. I would just like to thank the two Ward 6 residents sitting behind me for all of the work that they did on this.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, on Councilor Hepworth's motion for adoption by roll call vote, the designation of East Budleigh as a sister city, Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Davis?
Yes.
Councilor Flynn?
Yes.
Councilor Hepworth?
Yes.
Councilor Jalapa?
Yes.
Councilor King?
Yes.
Councilor Prosnewski?
Yes.
Councilor Smith?
Yes.
Councilor Sidoriak?
Yes.
Councilor Torowski?
Yes.
And Councilor Merkel?
Yes. We have 10 members voting. We have 10 in the affirmative, none in the negative. The matter carries. Further communications from the mayor.
We have an ordinance to amend an ordinance relative to fines for failing to remove snow and ice from sidewalks.
Councilor Hepworth.
Thank you, President Merkel. An ordinance relative to fines.
Waive the reading.
Thank you. Appreciate that. I move to refer to the Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs. Co-posted with the Committee of the Whole.
Thank you. Councilor Hepworth moves to refer these proposed changes to the snow removal fines to the Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole. Under discussion, Councilor Hapworth.
Thank you, President Merkel. Yeah, we all feel this frustration right now. There are, as a pedestrian in Salem, there are certain places you can walk and certain places you can't, and it becomes very frustrating when you see the same properties week after week, storm after storm, and it's typically commercial properties and it's typically landlords who don't make an effort to clear the snow. That having been said, we as a city council and as a city government need to ensure that DPW has the resources it needs to clear its sidewalks and the city's sidewalks, because we are not at a standard right now. In my personal opinion, we are not at a standard right now where we can tell folks that they need to meet a higher standard if we're not there as well. So I think there's a deeper conversation that needs to happen here. Also, we have in the past raised our fines and we need to deal with that situation too. So I think there's some conversations to be had in committee about what this looks like moving forward. But I think the intent of this is a good intent, which is we need to do a better job of making sure that pedestrians can pass. It would not be acceptable for the Congress Street Bridge to have snow on it right now, but it is for some reason acceptable for the sidewalks of that bridge to have snow. So I think that there's a big conversation about this, and I think we're heading in the right direction, but we need to sort of iron out some of the details here.
Any further discussion? Councilor King.
Thank you, President Merkel. Yeah, I will echo. I actually just came from a youth commission meeting where the youth of our city were talking about their challenges, and pretty much every single high school student in that room brought up not being able to walk to school right now. Even a student brought up the fact that she had to walk along the street of Highland Ave because Highland Ave was not, there wasn't enough sidewalks along the street just to get to school. So that's an incredibly dangerous situation that we obviously don't want to be putting anyone in, especially our children. But I will echo Councilor Hapworth's sentiment about this needing to be part of a larger conversation. I know as ward councilors, we've received a lot of feedback from people over the last few weeks throughout the heavy snowfall. And I do think it's really difficult when we're hearing feedback from especially our elderly and disabled neighbors about how they are unable to get affordable or accessible snow removal, to then just pair that conversation with just talking about fines. I think it is difficult. So I do think this needs to be a part of a larger conversation about how we make snow an easier situation for everyone in the city.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councilor Tarowski.
Thank you, President Merkel. I do echo Councilor Hapworth's sentiments on this as well, and I want to thank him for bringing attention to the Congress Street Bridge, because I have had to walk on that almost every day. It services daycare, the Salem Pantry, the DTA at Shelton Park, Salem Academy Charter School, the residents of the Point. It services the South Harbor parking garage when there's a parking ban, and that's where residents need to come to and from to pick up their cars. So everything that we should be making sure the city has the resources to do their job. We also need to make sure that, if we're fining people for not clearing their sidewalks, that doesn't solve the problem. We need to make sure the sidewalk gets cleared somehow. So maybe having a plan in place for that as well. But I do want to, I think the intent of this ordinance is good. I think we need to have some conversation about how we implement it so that we're not penalizing people who are doing their best. But I do hear everybody's concerns about, do we put the snow on the sidewalks or in the street? And if we remove it, do we need heavy equipment? And it's just tough right now. So thank you, everybody, for chipping in, and thank you for being patient. And I look forward to a robust discussion on this subject in committee.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councilor Sidoriak.
Thank you, President Merkel. I appreciate that this is going committee, because I think that there is a lot of discussion that we can have. I've got a few points that I would love to bring to committee and hopefully have it contemplated before getting there. Maybe some of it's not germane. I think first and foremost, I'd love for the city to look at programs that other communities are doing where we connect people to those in need of clearing sidewalks to do so. So I think Somerville has a program where they connect teens that have been vetted to be able to connect to those who are elderly, and they can clear their sidewalks at a reasonable price. I think if we're asking people to do so through fines, then there needs to be other ways to help them, or maybe alleviate that through some sort of easement. Another point that I would like to have considered is having some sort of reporting system or dashboard of noncompliance. I think if we're going to raise the fines, we need to see how effective it is. what is the non-compliance right now with $25, and then if we raise it, how does that change? Like, we're not going to see the effect right off the gate, but if we are going to change something, we need to see its impact. Also, can we look at other communities that have changed their fees, and what is that impact? Have they followed along? What is the change in non-compliance? And then we need to look at our own performance with city properties. I think there's a lot of people that say that we do not work as fast as we could or as effectively to clear off the sidewalks that the city is responsible for. Let's have a response to that. Besides that, yes, it's our responsibility. Can we actually say, no, actually all sidewalks were cleared off right away? We want to be able to have that conversation and then be able to speak to our performance. What are our metrics being measured across the city with snow removal if any debris was put in someone's jurisdiction? I've had some complaints where there are contractors or it's DPS, they've plowed snow onto their sidewalks, and so if we're requesting people to do fees or fines, what is that dynamic? If we can actually say, oh, a huge amount of snow was put onto someone's sidewalk and now they're responsible for it. And then lastly, I think we just need to make sure that we are following metrics that we are able to report on regards to plowing and just compliance for sidewalk removal, where we can speak to these things and have a conversation with people rather than saying, no, this is how it's going to be. We're raising fees now. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councilor Jalapa?
Thank you, President Merkel. I just want to take a moment to thank the DPS crews for all the work that they've been doing over the last several weeks, storm after storm, trying to clear the snow. I hope that the members of the public hear us loud and clear here tonight, that obviously we feel that this is part of a larger discussion that needs to happen with snow removal in the city. And I just want to, voice that this was a pretty big storm, the first we've had in quite a number of years here in Salem. But this is going to keep happening. This is climate change. This is the impact of climate change. We're going to get larger storms that we have to deal with, and this is what happens is when you get pressed really hard, you find out where the cracks are in policies and systems that are in place. It is, I want to echo the sentiments of other councilors that obviously safety needs to be the highest priority here. As the Ward 6 councilor, if anyone is driving or trying to get to downtown Salem from Route 128, you're probably coming through Ward 6. We have multiple streets that are in the entrance corridor overlay district. And those, when people need to walk on those streets through those high volumes of traffic, it is incredibly dangerous when sidewalks are not clear. We need to make sure they didn't clear. To echo the Ward 3 councilor, I'm not convinced that increasing fines will do that. But I also do want to recognize something in the backup documentation, that it sounds like there are discussions inside of city departments about changing policy. And I look forward to continuing those conversations in committee. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Smith?
Thank you, President. I want to just make a plea to the empty chair next to me, to the Ward 7 councilor and the chair of the OLA committee, who will hopefully see this later, that we take the time to set this meeting up. You'll note that we did, the previous council did raise fines last year right around on the summer solstice, and so that's about the appropriate time to deal with snow when we're clear of it and we can actually look back on the season. I reached out this week to the inspectional services. They were unable to give me ticket data. I reached out to, we still have on our website that we have a program for high school students to assist seniors. That program no longer exists. I reached out to the Council on Aging, and hopefully there's a way to restart that. These things take time. and I want to make sure that we give the time before we go to committee with this, so that we can actually have an intelligence discussion and look back on what went right and what went wrong. And I do want to comment on one piece here, because I heard some gasps in the room, that Lieutenant Tucker himself, I want to acknowledge him, went out to Highland Ave and was directing traffic and closed down a lane for those kids after that the next day. So it was a really, we have an all hands on deck approach to snow, and we should be able to do better, and I want to make sure that we take the time to actually approach this thoughtfully. Thank you.
Thank you. And a reminder to councilors before we continue discussion, we will be able to continue this discussion because this is motion to go to committee. Any further discussion? Seeing none, on Councilor Huppert's motion to refer to the Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole, proposed ordinance changes relative to fines for snow removal. All those in favor? All those opposed? The matter carries. Mayor's informational page, none. Motions, orders. Okay. Mayor's informational page, none. Motions, orders, and resolutions. Councilor King.
Thank you, President Merkel. Resolution to ensure the safety of our immigrant community. Whereas the City of Salem is a welcoming city with a long-standing commitment to being a culturally inclusive and safe community for all our residents, and serving and protecting its residents regardless of their immigration status and country of origin. And whereas the rich city and vitality of the City of Salem, being increasingly ethnically, racially, and religiously diverse, is built on the strength of its immigrant communities, and this diversity is a source of resilience and civic pride. And whereas the City of Salem and its public safety personnel have a responsibility to protect the health, safety, and welfare of all residents, regardless of citizenship or immigration status. And whereas fear of immigration enforcement can discourage residents from reporting crimes, seeking emergency assistance, accessing essential services, and attending school, thereby undermining public safety, as all residents deserve to live, work, and learn and access public services without fear of discrimination or intimidation based on immigration status or perceived immigration status. And whereas the City of Salem affirms that the Constitution affords all people residing in the United States certain rights, this rule applies regardless of an individual's immigration status. And whereas the City of Salem maintains a strong commitment to protecting the rights of immigrant community members and ensuring the following protections. The City of Salem does not ask for families or individuals' immigration status. The City of Salem does not coordinate with Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE. The City of Salem does not allow ICE agents access to non-public areas of city facilities without a judicial warrant signed by a federal judge. The City of Salem does not share records with ICE without consent or a court order issued by a judge, except where disclosure is specifically required by federal or state law. And whereas the City of Salem councilors and city staff understand their roles and responsibilities regarding protecting and supporting our immigrant communities. Whereas the City of Salem has ordained in Article 17, Section 2, 2062 of the Salem Municipal Code that city employees shall serve all residents and city services shall be accessible to all residents, regardless of immigration status or identity, including ancestry, race, ethnicity, country of origin, color, age, sex, sexual orientation, gender variance, marital status, physical or mental disability, or religion, unless providing such service is prohibited by state or federal statute, regulation, or court decision. City employees, with the exception of police officers who shall abide by police department policy, shall not ask for information about immigration status in the performance of daily tasks unless required to do so by federal or state statute, regulation, or court decision. Salem public safety personnel, including police and firefighters, recognize and value as their first priority the safety, protection, and security of all Salem residents, regardless of their country of origin. No person living, visiting, or working in Salem should ever fear calling public safety personnel for assistance. Further, local public safety personnel recognize that being able to have clear and open communication with any and all of Salem's residents is the most effective way to ensure the health, safety, and welfare of the entire community. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the City of Salem reaffirms its commitment to protecting the rights of all our community members, including immigrant community members, and ensuring a safe, inclusive, and supportive environment for everyone who calls Salem home. Be it further resolved that the City of Salem recognizes that public safety is strengthened when all residents feel safe interacting with local government and law enforcement. Be it further resolved that the Salem City Council commits to continued review, development, and strengthening of local policies that protect immigrant residents, including working collaboratively with city departments, Salem Public Schools, and the Salem Police on internal procedures. Be it further resolved that the Salem City Council urges the state legislature to pass an act to protect the civil rights and safety of all Massachusetts residents, also known as the Safe Communities Act, to restore trust between communities and the public institutions that protect and serve them. Be it further resolved that the Salem City Council urges the state legislature to pass an act promoting rule of law, oversight, trust, and equal constitutional treatment, also known as the PROTECT Act, to ensure safe access to the courts and maintain trust in local law enforcement. Be it further resolved that the clerk of the city council send this resolution to Governor Maura Healey, Lieutenant Governor Kim Driscoll, Senate President Karen Splica, House Speaker Ronald Mariano, Senator Joan Lovely, and Representative Manny Cruz. And I move for adoption.
Councilor King moves for adoption of this resolution for the safety of our immigrant community by roll call vote. On a discussion, Councilor King.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for, yes. So this was something that, obviously, I think in the City of Salem, this has been a discussion going on since, to be frank, as early as 2016. The original Sanctuary for Peace ordinance passed back in 2017, but obviously in the last year, it has been discussed at a higher rate. We felt that it was really important that this is something that we really reaffirm our commitment to these values and reaffirm our commitment to making sure that people feel safe in the City of Salem, regardless of who they are and their immigration status. I think it's really important that we talk a lot about our further commitments and what else we'd like to do, and I think it's really, really important that we proactively not only work on this issue, but also proactively include our immigrant neighbors and community groups that represent our immigrant population. I know that the City of Salem did an event last week where the mayor and police chief and superintendent of schools met with a large number of community groups and did public Q&A, and this is just one of the many things that we really need to do as a community to really help reassure our community and continue to work collaboratively with our community on these issues. I will just note ICE has been in Salem, but it has not been in Salem as much as neighboring communities. Lynn and Peabody have been hit significantly harder than Salem here on the North Shore, and I think it really gets to the fact that this is a regional issue, and that's why it's really important that we do support state legislation that helps to build this trust on a state level, because we are a lot stronger when we all work together as a state. So I just wanted to add that too.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councilor Davis?
Thank you, President Merkel. Just wanted to express my appreciation to Councilor King for the hard work on this and bringing this in. Really appreciative of having this in front of us. I think especially what I appreciate is the third, be it further resolved, and I'll just repeat it, that the Salem City Council commits to continue review, development, and strengthening of local policies that protect immigrant residents, including working collaboratively with city departments, Salem Public Schools, and the Salem Police on internal procedures. So this resolution is not just saying nice words and patting ourselves on the back and moving on. It's furthering very urgent actions, being proactive, as was said. I'm really looking forward to having these conversations in council about, as was said in public comment, going back to our Sanctuary for Peace ordinance, what was originally put in there, now that the scope of the horror and the sense of urgency have heightened, and we have a much different council than we did at the time, and looking at how we can take longstanding police procedures and policies that we very much appreciate, but I think really need to be codified into law, and work collaboratively with our organizations and immigrant community to do everything we possibly can, while also balancing making sure that we're not making ourselves an unnecessary target. Thank you very much.
Any further discussion? Councilor Turovsky.
Thank you, President Merkel. We had a discussion in the Board of Health meeting this week that there will be a vaccine clinic for influenza vaccines in the Congress Street Health Building at 48 Congress Street on Saturday at 11 p.m. Shameless plug. But more importantly, what came out of that discussion is that we're having a spike in influenza cases in the Point right now. And no matter how you slice it, some people are going to be afraid to put their personal information into a website to register for vaccines. And even if that data is protected under HIPAA and will not be shared, it's really hard to expect some people to do that. And walk-ins are welcome for that clinic, by the way. But this is something that we really need to pass to guarantee our community work together, make sure that people who live here feel safe and feel comfortable participating in our community, because everything, even down to public health, erodes so quickly if we don't have all of our members of our community willing to participate and feeling safe enough to participate in our system. I also did want to point out just a minor thing, that when we're talking about people who live here and people that are being protected by this, some people will very casually use the word citizens, and I don't think it's necessarily, negative, but we need to be careful, and this resolution does it correctly, to use the term residents or neighbors to describe people who are being protected in our city, because the term citizen, as we're finding out, is something that is not a term that universally applies. But I just want everybody to know that if you live in Salem, I consider you my neighbor and our resident, and I want to help protect you. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Councilor Smith.
Thank you, President Merkel. I want to echo Councilor Davis. I think that is, and thank Councilor King for bringing this forward. This is great. People needed to hear this right now, needed to hear that we're actually doing something, we're actually thinking about this, and that our minds are on it. But that particular piece about looking back at our policies is incredibly important to me. We have a Sanctuary for Peace ordinance. It's probably time to revisit that from 2017. It's time to reopen that. It is time to see if we can strengthen certain pieces of it. You mentioned the regional aspect, and, sorry, Councilor King, okay. The regional aspect is particularly important because right now, we don't have a target on our back. I understand that, and our residents do not have a target on their back necessarily. Doesn't mean the fear isn't there, but it also means that we're putting that on neighboring communities like Chelsea and Lowell, Lawrence, Lynn, New Bedford, Fall River, Worcester, Springfield, etc., Boston, Cambridge, Somerville. It goes back to the poem, Martin Niemöller. The poem, first they came for Chelsea, and I didn't live in Chelsea, so I just didn't pass a resolution or an ordinance that was going to protect my residents. I do think it's particularly of note to note that also Martin Niemöller was a Nazi, was anti-Semitic, and then had a change of heart. The tides are changing on this right now, and I think that we need to get on board with what other people are doing and try to do more than just this. We need to get with other cities and towns. I also wanted to note that there is a mention of ICE, and it's become the zeitgeist of just this week, actually, to no longer say ICE, but to actually say ICE and other federal immigration authorities. And so that's the kind of language that we can't fix here because it's a reference point, but we need to go back and actually add. There's a lot that we have to do, I think, in order to strengthen what we do as a city. So I would hopefully we'll bring that back, but I just want to thank you, and I hope that we'll pass this at least as a first step to help open that up. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Halapa?
Thank you, President Merkel. I would like to take a moment to thank the Ward 5 councilor for all of her work on this. I know myself, and I'm sure many of us here have been contacted by residents of Salem and people that work here about how important folks think this is. We heard some sentiments about that tonight. And I just want to echo those that this is something that is potentially an existential threat to the city. This is not something that we should be taking lightly. We, meaning the entire government body here, we really need to take the steps to be prepared and really identify what our strategies are going to be. And then the last thing that I just wanted to mention that many folks might not know is that actually the poet that wrote that, Mr. Mueller, was a minister, a Lutheran minister, who was an anti-Semite and a Nazi. And when he spoke out against the Nazi regime, he ended up in a concentration camp. And this is the potential future that we are dealing with here. This is authoritarianism, this is fascism. And we need to be prepared and understand what we want to do to move forward. So I'm excited to pass this tonight, and I'm excited for everything else that we will do on this topic in the future. The federal government moves quickly on this. That's part of their strategy, and we need to be able to do that as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councilor Flynn.
Thank you, President Merkel. I just wanted to say I can understand why Councilor King brought this in, but I want to make sure the people of Salem know that we have been following this since about 2017. And it's not just words on paper. I can tell you as a retired firefighter, and I'm sure Councilor Przewski could also say, the fire and police departments are following this. I don't want people to feel that they're unsafe. I have never, ever seen on any of the calls I've been on, medical calls or whatever, a police officer or a firefighter, when we're taking down information for medical purposes, would ever ask status. And that way, I don't know if people actually see this and they don't believe it, but they should know that this is being followed in Salem. And you are safe in Salem. And first responders would never, ever draw the line and go against this. So just for a little knowledge on that, on our end from working in the field and seeing it firsthand. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councilor Hapworth.
Thank you, President Merkel. I think one of the most common questions or comments that we get if we knock on doors or we talk to constituents that are interested in things that are going on or are distressed by things that are happening at a national level is, what can I do? The problems feel so big, I don't even know where to start right now. And I think it's probably one of the reasons that a lot of us ran to start with. If you started running for office after 2016, that's probably one of the things that got us into it. And I think the answer that I've at least come across is to focus on protecting our neighbors, taking care of things locally for us. That means, for city council, that means the little stuff. It means proving to people that government works, that we can do things together. It means proving that we look out for each other, that we focus on the roles of the city, that we don't do things that just make us feel good. I think it feels really good to make declarative statements and to claim powers that we don't necessarily have, but I think it, in practice, helps our neighbors more if we focus on the role, which is to keep them safe, to keep them secure, to look out for each other. For residents, I think that means making sure that if you see things that look illegal even from the federal government, that you're recording, that you're doing things safely, but that you're documenting evidence, because we will come out on the other side of this at some point, and the rule of law will prevail. And I think doing that locally here and being smart about it is important. So I appreciate reaffirming this information, and agree with Councilor Flynn that this is policy that's been followed by the Salem Fire Department, Salem Police Department, Emergency Services for a long time. We don't ask about the immigration status in the city. We provide services to our residents. Thanks.
Any further discussion? Councilor Sidoriak.
Thank you, President Merkel. I just want to thank Councilor King and all those who have helped put this resolution forward. I think it's very needed. I think it's very much, as Councilor Atworth alluded to, about the rule of law, creating a certainty within our society and how we've chosen to create those laws and create that safety. And it's really about allowing people to understand how they can function in society. And what I want to emphasize is, for those that they may think this is just an immigration thing, for those who might not have a certain status, there are so many people throughout this country who are citizens, are being kidnapped and executed. And so this is not just about preserving those most in need, but this is about preserving our way of life and the rule of law that makes sure that we are safe. And going back to Councilor Trotsky, the little things of making you feel so comfortable that you can get a flu shot. Like, this is our commitment to that. And it is something that has been going on for the last decade. It is something that needs to keep on going on into perpetuity to ensure that we protect those who are the most vulnerable, but then just anyone else. So I really appreciate this, and I'm just proud of everyone that is put it forward. So thank you for that.
Any further discussion? Councilor Presnowski.
Thank you, President Merkel. Back about 10 years ago, when I was a captain on the police department, I was part of the committee that drafted the Sanctuary for Peace ordinance here in Salem. And I can tell you that during the discussions, the many discussions, and the investigation on how this should be drafted, we spoke with a lot of the immigrant population here in Salem. And I think one thing that hasn't been brought up, which was a hurdle in that discussion, was how immigrants view law enforcement in this country, because their views of law enforcement is what they had in their country. And most of their countries have one police department, a national police department, a federal police department. And they don't understand that over here we have a municipal police department, we have a state police department, we have federal police agencies. Salem, I think I can speak for the Salem Police on this because of my background, and my background on the fact that my parents were immigrants here after World War II, and I understood the fears that they had of the authorities over here. First of all, the Salem Police Department, we had to explain, it's a community police department, not the state police, not the federal police. Our priority is the safety and guardianship of this community and its residents, not its citizens, its residents. Nobody ever asks for citizenship, just like Councilor Flynn just said, on any call, any official interaction, no one ever asks for papers. Where are your papers? Where do you come from? No one does that on our police department. We don't enforce federal laws. Federal agents enforce federal laws. We don't have the right to. They don't have the right to enforce our laws. So we also don't have the authority to obstruct federal laws. Our information is shared only by legal means, not voluntarily, and we protect everybody, regardless of who they are, what they wear. If they're in our city, they're going to get the same protection as anybody else. So the reason I'm speaking up is I just want our immigrant population to know that law enforcement over here is a lot different than the law enforcement that they may have grown up in this country. And this police department over here is for the people of Salem. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, On Councilor King's motion for adoption by roll call vote, the resolution to ensure the safety of our immigrant community members. Madam City Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilor Davis?
Yes.
Councilor Flynn?
Yes.
Councilor Hapworth?
Yes.
Councilor Halapa?
Yes.
Councilor King?
Yes.
Councilor Prosnewski?
Yes.
Councilor Smith?
Yes.
Councilor Sidoriak?
Yes.
Councilor Turowski?
Yes.
And Councilor Merkel.
Yes. We have 10 members voting. We have 10 in the affirmative, none in the negative. The matter carries. Further motions, orders, and resolutions.
Councilor King?
Councilor King?
I'm sorry. Yeah, so I just read that, okay. Ordered that the Committee on Ordinances, License, and Legal Affairs, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole, meet to discuss the attached ordinance amendment relative to the municipal and business composting, and I move for adoption.
Councilor King moves for adoption that the Committee on Ordinance, Licenses, and Legal Affairs, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole, meet to discuss composting. Under discussion, Councilor King.
Thank you, President Merkel. Sorry about that, just got a little confused. Yeah, thank you. So this is a topic that's been discussed for a few years in the city of Salem, well before my tenure on the council, but I'll just say briefly because we are moving to send this to committee. A lot of individual residents here in the city of Salem are doing composting, and a lot of our schools are really enjoying composting. A lot of students comment and they remember the composting, they love doing it. It's a process that they really enjoy. And it does just make sense to bring this topic back up now that a few years have passed since the last time it was discussed. I also think it's really topical that we're bringing this up at the same time. The Salem Recycles Committee was just renamed the Zero Waste Salem Committee, which I think really reflects the fact that recycling is not enough when we talk about our solid waste in the city of Salem, and composting is one of the best ways that we can divert solid waste to the most appropriate place. And I will just say, we are trying to move this to committee, and I'm really looking forward to hearing feedback from not only community members and environmental advocates, but also from businesses, because we do want to make sure that this is something that the goal is not to penalize or fine businesses. The goal is for us to have a composting program in the city of Salem in as many places as possible. So whatever we can do to make this something that really works for the businesses that would be affected by this, I think that's what we have to do. So.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, on Councilor King's motion to adopt that the Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs, co-posted to the Committee of the Whole, meet to discuss composting. All those in favor? All those opposed? The matter carries. Further motions, orders, and resolutions. Councilor Davis.
Thank you, President Merkel. Ordered that the Committee on Public Health, Safety, and the Environment, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole, meet to discuss the attached ordinance amendment relative to gas-powered leaf blowers, and I move for adoption.
Councilor Davis moves for adoption that the Committee on Public Health, Safety, and Environment, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole, meet to discuss gas blowers. Under discussion, Councilor Davis.
Thank you, President Merkel, and thank you, President Merkel, for being a great partner on this for the past couple of years. So as folks know that we're on the council already, and I know a lot of folks that are on the council now were a part of the meeting as well. This was brought in last year, hoping to kind of move it across the finish line this time around. I think there's been a lot of diversity of opinion on the kind of finer details of the ordinance, but excited to really get into that in committee. I know the interest from the public really hasn't died on this, and people really want to see action for environmental reasons, for noise reasons, for the public's, for the health and safety of those operating gas-powered leaf blowers. I will note also, it was brought to my attention, there was a typo on the ordinance about just the years, 2025, 2026, which of course we can take care of in committee as well. And there's some great info in the backup as well, some information that Councilor Merkel and I had accumulated through countless meetings with department heads, meetings with other cities, information that we found through research on the topic. There's a great letter from Sustainability Director Neil Duffy in there, and then the ordinance itself. So hope everyone is able to take a look at that, and excited to have the conversation.
Any further discussion? Councilor Smith.
I was reading this and I was watching the previous meeting, and I noticed this is the exact same ordinance that died in committee at the end of last year. It seems like a lot of work had been done on that in that committee through those hearings, so I would have hoped that there would have been by now some of that work reflected in a new ordinance that we could actually dive into. I'm not sure what the procedure is there, to just ignore the previous meetings on this, or if we start from scratch. I just would have hoped that there would have been something a little bit moving this forward before we have to now take it into committee from scratch again, is all I'll say. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Councilor Davis?
Thank you, President Merkel. Just to give some more backup on that, there was just one meeting in the Public Health, Safety and Environment Committee. There were no amendments made, and then at the end of the year, it was discharged. So just from a process standpoint, had there been amendments and had it been carried over, then we would be looking at a different ordinance. And I think just out of respect for having majority brand new council, it'd be great to look at this with fresh eyes. So just to kind of give some context to that there. Thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, on Councilor Davis's motion that the Committee on Public Health, Safety and Environment, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole, meet to discuss gas blowers. All those in favor? All those opposed? The matter carries. Further motions, orders, and resolutions. Councilor Turovsky.
Thank you, President Merkel. My commitment to the environment is going to mean this jumps again. I'm so sorry. So this is going to be actually an order, not an ordinance. We have an ordinance in front of us that establishes a temporary a safety zone in the Willows. I'm going to instead recommend that we have a trial passage. It's in the backup. I'm going to recommend that we adopt a trial order period for 60 days from June 1st to July 30th, 2026 on the following traffic recommendation: Chapter 42, Section 88, Special Speed Zone Regulations, Section 194 of the Acts of 2016, creates Mass General Law, Chapter 90, Section 18B, allowing municipalities to establish 20-mile-per-hour safety zones, Ford Avenue between Winter Island Road and Bayview Avenue, both sides and both directions of traffic at 20 miles per hour. And I move for adoption of the trial order.
Thank you. Councilor Turovsky moves for adoption for a 60-day trial for a safety zone for Ford Avenue. Under discussion, Councilor Turovsky.
Thank you, President Merkel. Sorry, that was a little bit clunky. Some context here. We had discussed the safety zone in May and last year in the Transportation Commission at the request of one of the residents on Ford Avenue. We are allowed by state law to establish these safety zones at the municipal level. This is a municipality-driven process. It is stated that it must be 20 miles per hour. The current speed limit on this stretch is 30 miles per hour. There are some criteria that must be followed in order to be able to fall under this safety zone classification. Namely, it has to be adjacent to a land use likely to attract vulnerable road users, in this case, Salem Willows Park and the basketball courts and athletic fields. The segment has to be a specific length, between a quarter mile and no more than 500 feet beyond a side street, unless it's by one of those applicable land uses, which this one is at 0.27 miles as well. And there has to be the presence of conflict points between different modes of travel, crosswalks, driveways, and side streets, which this also qualifies. We also looked at Memorial Drive, which did not meet these criteria, and Restaurant Row, which met the criteria, but since it's essentially a park driveway, we didn't know if there was jurisdiction to go forward with this, so we were only recommending this on Ford Avenue. There was a speed study conducted as part of the MassDOT guidelines to establish this safety zone. The average speed was at 26 miles per hour. The 85th percentile was 31 miles per hour, which means that 85% of vehicles were traveling at 31 miles per hour or below. 48% of vehicles travel over 25 miles an hour, and 16.9% of vehicles over 30 miles an hour, with an average daily volume of about 2,400 vehicles. Some vehicles were documented to be traveling at over 60 miles an hour in these conditions. So we are proposing 20 miles an hour in conjunction with the speed safety zone legislation. We had discussed 25, but this would not qualify under this fast tracking program because it requires MassDOT approval. The safety zone approach is, again, driven by the city and can take effect as soon as the council approves it. When the safety zone was discussed at the Transportation Commission, 2 Willows neighborhood residents spoke in favor, including former Ward 1 Councilor Cynthia Jerslow. There was some discussion, and Lieutenant David Tucker had initially voted against this. There's a letter in the backup in which he expresses his concerns about the necessity of this. The application, I think the quote was, "This might lower the limit to an unreasonable speed. It might simply cause good drivers to drive in violation, and also the logistics of enforcing this ordinance." I also brought it up at the Salem Willows Neighborhood Association meeting on Tuesday night and only received positive feedback. There was no opposition from the residents. The Transportation Commission did acknowledge that this would be the first step in a multi-pronged approach to reducing speeds in this area, noting that enforcement would have to balance the issues related to vehicles traveling at reasonable speeds. So people might reasonably travel at 25 miles an hour here, but under this, that would be considered speeding. So I'm looking forward to some other discussions with the neighbors to see if we can do some hardscaping, some infrastructure modifications to encourage people to drive more slowly as well. But again, these approaches they can be implemented later, but they do require additional time and funding. So to accommodate the recommendations of Lieutenant Tucker, I'm proposing an order for a trial period extending from June 1st through July 30th, which should be during peak park visitation this year. And then at the end of that trial period, I would request review of this safety zone trial by the Transportation Commission in August. And if they give a positive recommendation, meaning this increases the perceived safety along this section of Ford Avenue, then that would be recommended to come back to council, where we would look at it as the ordinance proposed for first and second passage as usual. How just as a matter of procedure, since this is a trial order, it only is required to have the one vote tonight to take effect. But I did want to thank, the other thing I wanted to mention is that Lieutenant Tucker had also recommended that this be seasonal, perhaps mid-May through mid-October. I think we may need to follow up and see if we can make the safety zones seasonal or if they have to be permanent, because I don't think that was clear in Mass General Law. But I wanted to thank the Transportation Department and the Transportation Commission for taking a look at this last year. Thank you to Lieutenant David Tucker for his recommendations and how we can, bring this into action. And thank you to Mr. Phil Lappy for advocating for this. Although we have not had any injury-related crashes in this segment, I do appreciate his initiative to be proactive rather than reactive in waiting for a problem to occur. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, on Councilor Trotsky's motion for adoption for a 60-day trial for a 20-mile-per-hour safety zone for Ford Avenue, all those in favor? Oh, I'm sorry. Was it under discussion? Yes, Councilor Jalapa. Sorry about that.
Thank you, President Merkel. That's quite all right. I just wanted to say my appreciation for the approach on this. None of us here want to see people get injured or killed. We've had vehicle collisions, but I can bet that every single one of us here knows someone whose life was seriously impacted by a vehicle collision in the city of Salem. I know too many myself. So I just am grateful for the approach to try something out, to try to actually make our streets safer. The city has recently conducted a Safe Streets for All action plan. And one of the findings was that there are not a lot of deaths. There are quite a number of injuries. There are literally thousands of property damage collisions. And what I hope folks can understand is that the only difference between a property damage collision and a collision with a person is luck. whether or not there's someone standing there. So it's really important that, overall, the city takes this sort of thing seriously, and I wanted to thank the Ward 1 councilor for the commitment to that. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councilor Presnitsky.
Thank you, Mr. President. Somebody told me 20 years ago that they were going to lower the speed limit on 4th Avenue to 20 miles an hour. I'd be scratching my head. I did have a conversation with, because it was a big wide street at that time, and since they put the armadillos in, it's been narrowed down, and I agree with Councilor Tarowski that maybe there should be some adjustments made by the appearance, some new structures being put on 4th Avenue to narrow it down. I do like the fact that we're going to give this a trial period. I'd like to see the trial period and see the results of it, because growing up here and frequenting down the Willows, 20 miles an hour seems very, very slow, but we'll see for the trial period how it works out. So I am in favor of this. Thank you.
Councilor Tarowski.
Just to address that last comment, Councilor Brzezinski, we have a similar safety zone in effect already. The Derby Street neighborhood between Congress Street and 4th Avenue is a template safety zone for this. So if it does feel slow, I agree, but we have another safety zone like this similarly already in the city. So we do have a framework for this already. Any further discussion? Councilor Sidoriak.
Thank you, President Merkel. I just want to add on to that. The number one factor for fatalities and serious injuries is speed. And so I think it's really important to be able to trial this and adjust how people move throughout the community depending on the corridors that they're moving through. But it can be slow, but it's only a certain amount of increments for the miles per hour that people will die. So it's really important. Thank you for putting this forward.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none. On Councilor Tarowski's motion for adoption for a 60-day trial for a 20-mile-per-hour safety zone for 4th Avenue. All those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Any additional motions, orders, and resolutions? Councilor Hapworth.
Thank you, President Merkel. I have a late file. Order that the Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs co-posted with the Committee of the Whole meet to discuss snow removal, best practices, and enforcement.
Thank you. All those in favor on the motion by Councilor Hapworth to have the OLA committee, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole, meet to discuss snow removal. All those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Any more additional motions, orders, and resolutions?
Just a point of personal privilege on that. No, there's no discussion on this. Just for the newer counselors, just if it's not already clear, the ordinance that's going to committee on the snow fees is probably too narrow to discuss some of the larger topics that I think we want to discuss here. So we'll take both those in, and then the committee chair can take them both at the same time so that we can have a broad discussion that's publicly posted.
Thank you for the clarity. Any other additional motions, orders, or resolutions? Seeing none. Committee reports? None. Communications from city officials? None. Petitions?
We have a request for extended hours from Haunted Warren Museum LLC, 259 Essex Street, Salem, to operate 7 days per week year-round between the hours of 10 a.m. and 2 a.m. The proposed use is an indoor ticketed entertainment experience with an average guest duration of approximately 90 minutes to 2 hours. The applicant anticipates that the final entry time will be approximately 11:59 p.m. with all guests exiting the building by 2 a.m. No food or alcohol will be served.
Hearing ordered on February 26, 2026. Further petitions.
We have a list of public guides and taxi operators.
Councilor Hapworth.
Thank you, President Merkel. I move to refer to the Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs.
Nope.
I move they be granted.
Thank you. Councilor Hapworth moves that these be granted. Under discussion, Councilor Hapworth.
I move to refer to the Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs.
Councilor Hapworth's motion is to move this to the Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs.
Sorry, I was talking to the city clerk. Are we on to claims now, or are we still in the secondhand valuables? Okay, so there's a mistake in the agenda. I don't have
For
that.
point of clarity, I'm on page 14, further
I'm
petition.
on page 14 as well.
And it says the following license applications.
I don't even have that on my agenda. Okay, that's weird. Oh, I just moved that they be granted on that one. That's fine.
Okay, Councilor Hapworth moves that these be granted. Under discussion?
No discussion.
Okay, on Councilor Hapworth's motion that these be granted, all those in favor? All those opposed? The matter carries. Further petitions?
We have one secondhand valuable license.
Councilor Hapworth?
This is Jenny Stewart.
Yeah.
Thank you, President Merkel. I move to refer to the Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs.
Councilor Hapworth moves that this be referred to the Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs. Under discussion, Councilor Hapworth.
No discussion.
On Councilor Hapworth's motion to refer this license application to the Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs, all those in favor? All those opposed? The matter carries. Further petitions.
We have 5 claims.
Councilor Hapworth.
Thank you, President Merkel. I move to refer to the Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal affairs.
Councilor Hapworth moves that these be referred to the Committee on Ordinances, License, and Legal Affairs. Under discussion, Councilor Hapworth.
No discussion.
On Councilor Hapworth's motion to refer these claims to the Committee on Ordinances, License, and Legal Affairs, all those in favor? All those opposed? The matter carries. Further petitions.
We have a long list of drain layer and contract operator license applications.
Councilor Hapworth.
Thank you, President Merkel. I move these be granted.
Councilor Hapworth moves that these be granted. Under discussion.
No discussion.
On Councilor Hapworth's motion that these be granted, all those in favor? All those opposed? The matter carries. Further petitions.
We have 2 drain layer contract operator bonds and 1 constable bond.
Councilor Hapworth.
Thank you, President Merkel. I move to refer to the Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs and return approved.
Councilor Hapworth moves that these be referred to the Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs, returned approved. Under discussion.
No discussion.
On Councilor Hapworth's motion to refer this to the Committee on Ordinances, License, and Legal Affairs, returned approved. All those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Unfinished business.
The second passage of the following traffic ordinance amendment, year 2026, an ordinance relative to traffic. Thank you. I move for adoption for second passage.
And Councilor Smith moves for adoption for second passage. Under discussion?
No discussion.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, on Councilor Smith's motion for adoption for a second passage for a handicap parking zone on Front Street, all those in favor? All those opposed? The matter carries.
And year 2026, yeah.
Further unfinished business.
We have the second passage of a following traffic ordinance amendment relative to Burnside Street.
Councilor Smith.
Ordinance relative to traffic. Reading your part. Thank you. I move for adoption for second passage.
Councilor Smith moves for adoption for second passage. Under discussion?
No discussion.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, on Councilor Smith's motion for adoption for second passage, the parking restrictions on Burnside Street, all those in favor? All those opposed? The matter carries. Further unfinished business.
We have the second passage of the following traffic ordinance amendment relative to accessible park and limited time.
Councilor Hapworth?
Thank you, Madam President. Move for adoption for second passage.
Councilor Hapworth moves for adoption for second passage. Under discussion?
The only discussion is on second passage. You don't need to read. Just go straight to second passage.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, on Councilor Hapworth's motion for second passage to authorize the Salem Police Traffic Unit with the Transportation Department accessible parking designation. All those in favor? All those opposed? The matter carries. Councilor Hapworth.
Thank you, Madam President. Point of personal privilege.
Moved.
Just wanted to just send a thanks to the DPW. I know we talked here about snow removal, and we have frustrations around things that are cleared or not cleared. They are 100% all hands on deck right now. I saw the director of DPW himself, Ray Joden, on my street with a front end loader or some vehicle clearing snow. I think it was on a Saturday morning. They are all out there right now. They're all doing their best. There's far too much snow, far too few places to put it, and far too few people doing the work right now. So just appreciate all of their hard work that they've put in these last few weeks. It's been a long time since we've had snow like this, but it is noticed and it is appreciated.
Thank you. Yeah. Councilor Hapworth.
Nothing else. I'll call for move for adjournment.
Councilor Hapworth moves to adjourn. All in favor? We are adjourned. Thank you.